I learned pretty early that in my family, success had a dress code, and it didn't include work boots. My sister Rachel wore blazers and heels. I wore Carhartt pants with pipe-dope stains that never quite washed out. She had business cards with MBA after her name. I had a plumbing license and calluses that could sand wood. Guess which one my parents bragged about at dinner parties? It wasn't always this obvious. When we were kids, Mom used to say she loved us equally, that every path was valid, that she just wanted us to be happy. But somewhere between Rachel's acceptance to business school and my decision to skip college for trade school, that narrative quietly died. I was 17 when I told them I wanted to be a plumber. We were at dinner. Rachel was home from her sophomore year at State, talking about her internship at some consulting firm. Dad was asking her about starting salaries. Mom was beaming. "So," I said during a lull, "I've been thinking about what's next after graduation." Mom perked up. "Oh, have you been looking at colleges? Your grades are good enough for State, maybe?" "I'm going to plumbing school," I said. "Harrison Technical Institute. They have a 2-year program. I can get my apprenticeship and be making money by 20. The silence was deafening. Rachel looked at me like I'd announced I was joining a cult. Dad set down his fork carefully. "Plumbing school?" "Yeah, good money, steady work, always in demand. Plus I liked helping Uncle Terry fix the sink last summer. It's problem solving, you know? Just with pipes instead of spreadsheets." "That's," Mom struggled for words. "That's very practical, sweetie. But have you thought about your future? About advancement opportunities? Benefits?" "Plumbers make good money, Mom. Some make 6 figures." "Some," Dad emphasized. "After years of crawling under houses and dealing with other people's sewage. As opposed to sitting in a cubicle dealing with other people's bullshit," I shot back. Rachel snorted into her wine. Dad's face went red. "Watch your language," Mom said. "We're just concerned. College opens doors that trade school doesn't." "Rachel's college cost you $40,000 a year," I pointed out. "Trade school costs $15,000 total. I can work while I learn. Be debt-free by 22 while Rachel's still paying off loans." I thought this was a good argument. Practical, financially sound. What I didn't realize was that to them, it wasn't about money. It was about status, about what they could tell their friends, about having a daughter who worked in a glass tower versus a son who worked in crawl spaces. "Let's just table this for now," Dad said finally. "You've got time to think about it." But I didn't need time. I knew what I wanted. 2 months later, I enrolled at Harrison Tech, paid my own tuition with money I'd saved from summer jobs, moved into a cheap apartment near campus with 2 other guys from the program. My parents came to exactly 0 of my classes. Never asked how I was doing. When I called to tell them I'd passed my first certification, Mom said, "That's nice, dear. Rachel just got promoted to senior analyst." It stung. But I kept going. Meanwhile, Rachel climbed the corporate ladder like she was born for it. Every promotion came with a family dinner. Every achievement got posted on Mom's Facebook with 3 paragraphs about how proud they were. When I got my journeyman license at 23, a year ahead of schedule, I called to tell them. "That's wonderful, honey," Mom said, distracted. "Listen, I have to go. We're planning Rachel's graduation party. She's getting her MBA next month. We'll talk later." She didn't call back. Rachel's MBA graduation party cost $20,000. I know because Mom mentioned it 17 times while planning. $20,000 for a party at the country club. Live band. Catered dinner. Ice sculptures shaped like dollar signs because Rachel thought it was clever. 200 guests. Open bar. A slideshow of Rachel's academic achievements set to inspirational music. I got an invitation, of course. Printed on heavy cardstock with gold foil lettering. Rachel Catherine Morrison, MBA, it read. Like the degree was part of her legal name now. I wore my one good suit, the one I'd bought for job interviews. Showed up alone because I was between relationships, and bringing a date to watch my sister get worshipped for 6 hours felt like cruel and unusual punishment. The party was exactly as excessive as Mom had promised. The ice sculptures were melting slowly, dollar signs turning into abstract blobs. The band played smooth jazz. Rachel held court in a designer dress that probably cost more than my monthly rent, accepting congratulations like she'd just won a Nobel Prize. There he is, Dad spotted me near the bar. Come here, I want you to meet some people. He dragged me over to a group of his golf buddies. This is my son, Dad said. He's a plumber. Not, this is my son. Not, this is another one of my kids. Just straight to the profession, like that was my entire identity. A plumber. One of the men laughed, not unkindly. Well, I guess someone's got to do it. Must be good money in that, huh? Always something breaking. It's steady work, I said. He went to trade school, Dad added, and I swear there was an apology in his voice. Like he was explaining why I hadn't gone to real college. They nodded politely and changed the subject back to Rachel's bright future in corporate consulting. I drank my whiskey and watched my parents glow with pride. Mom's speech about Rachel brought her to tears. Dad's toast talked about watching his daughter achieve her dreams, about how education opened doors, about how proud he was of her work ethic. I left early, nobody noticed. 3 months later, I got my master plumber license. It had taken me 4 years of work, thousands of hours of training, multiple exams, and more stress than I'd ever admit. It was the pinnacle of my profession, the thing that let me open my own business, the achievement I'd been working toward since I was 17. I called my parents from my truck, sitting in the parking lot of the testing center, still shaking from the final practical exam. I passed, I told Mom. I'm a licensed master plumber now. I can start my own business. Oh, that's wonderful, sweetie, Mom said. That's really wonderful. Your father will be so happy to hear that. Pause. So I was thinking maybe we could do dinner this weekend? Celebrate? This weekend? Oh, honey, we can't. We're going with Rachel to look at condos. She's buying her first place, can you believe it? 26 and already buying property. Right, of course. Maybe next weekend? Let me check the calendar and get back to you. She never did. 2 weeks later, I got a card in the mail. Inside was a $50 bill and a note. Congratulations on your achievement. We're very proud. Love, Mom and Dad. $50. Rachel's party cost $20,000. But sure, they were very proud. I took that $50 and framed it. Hung it in my office, in the garage of the house I'd bought with my plumbing money. A reminder. Not of their pride, but of their priorities. Years passed. I built a good business. Morrison Plumbing and Heating. Started with just me and a truck, grew to 3 trucks and 4 employees. Got a reputation for quality work and fair prices. Made good money, way better than I'd expected. Rachel did well too, I guess. Kept getting promotions, got married to another MBA, bought a bigger condo, posted LinkedIn updates about corporate synergy and thought leadership. We saw each other at holidays, exchanged polite small talk. She'd ask how the plumbing thing was going. I'd ask about her business stuff. Then we'd run out of things to say. Mom and Dad stayed the same. Asked Rachel about work, asked me if I was still doing the plumbing thing. Like it was a phase. Like one day I'd wake up and realize I should have gone to real college. I stopped expecting anything different. Stopped hoping they'd see me the way they saw Rachel. Just showed up to holidays, smiled through dinner, left early. It was fine. I had my business. My house. My life that I'd built with my own hands. Literally. I didn't need their validation. Or at least that's what I told myself. Right up until Christmas Eve when my phone rang at 8:47 p.m., Mom's name on the screen. I almost didn't answer. We'd already done Christmas Eve dinner that afternoon, the usual uncomfortable affair where Rachel and her husband talked about their European vacation plans while I nodded along. But something made me pick up. Hey, Mom, what's... The pipes burst. Her voice was pure panic. There's water everywhere. The basement is flooding. I don't know what to do. I sat up from where I'd been lounging on my couch. What happened? I don't know. We were watching a movie and we heard this sound, like an explosion, and then water started coming through the ceiling and... She was talking fast, breathing hard. Your father's trying to shut off the main valve, but he can't find it, and the water won't stop. Mom, calm down. Tell Dad the main shutoff is in the basement, near the water heater. Red valve. Turn it clockwise. I heard her yelling instructions to Dad. Muffled sounds. Then she was back. Okay, he found it. The water stopped. But there's so much damage already. The carpet is soaked. The drywall is sagging. Oh God, this is a disaster. Did you call your regular plumber? He's not answering. I tried him first, then I called every plumber in the phone book. Everyone's either not picking up or they're booked. It's Christmas Eve, nobody's working. Her voice cracked. I forgot you were a plumber until just now. Can you help? Please? I sat there in my living room, phone pressed to my ear, listening to my mother beg for my help. The mother who'd spent $20,000 on my sister's party. The mother who'd sent me $50 in a card. The mother who'd introduced me as, he's a plumber for years like it was an apology. Now she needed me. Now my profession mattered. I can come take a look, I said slowly. But Mom, it's Christmas Eve. Emergency calls are expensive. I don't care about the cost. Just please, we need help. I grabbed my keys. I'll be there in 20 minutes. The drive to my parents' house took 18 minutes. I spent every one of them thinking about that $50 bill in the frame on my office wall. $20,000 for Rachel's party. $50 for my master license. I pulled into their driveway at 9:06 p.m. The house looked normal from the outside, all their Christmas lights twinkling cheerfully like nothing was wrong. But I could see Dad through the living room window, pacing, phone pressed to his ear. I grabbed my toolbox from the truck and headed inside. The smell hit me first. Wet drywall, soaked carpet, that distinctive musty smell of water damage. Mom met me at the door, still in her Christmas sweater, mascara streaked down her face. Oh, thank God, she said. Thank God you're here. Dad hung up his phone. I was just calling our insurance company, got their emergency line. They said they'll send an adjuster after the holiday, but we need to document everything and get the water damage under control immediately. I nodded, already assessing. Water stains on the ceiling, dark patches spreading across the carpet. I could hear dripping from somewhere below. Show me the basement. The basement was worse than I'd expected. Much worse. Water covered the floor, at least 2 inches deep in places. The burst pipe, a main water line, had been spraying for who knows how long before they noticed. The drywall was soaked through, bulging and separating. Their Christmas decorations, stored in cardboard boxes, were destroyed. Photos, old furniture, keepsakes, all sitting in contaminated water. I pulled out my phone and started taking pictures. Documentation. For my quote. How bad is it? Dad asked from the stairs. He wouldn't come down, didn't want to ruin his slippers. Bad, I said. This isn't just a simple pipe repair. You've got major water damage. That drywall's got to come out, all of it. Carpet upstairs needs to go. You'll need industrial fans and dehumidifiers running for days to prevent mold. The pipe itself, I can fix that. But there's probably damage to the joints and connections throughout this section. Can you fix it tonight? I looked at him. I can stop the immediate crisis tonight. The full repair? That's days of work, maybe a week. Mom appeared at the top of the stairs. How much? Here it was. The moment. I climbed back up, pulled out my tablet, started making notes. Materials cost, labor hours, emergency holiday rates, water extraction, demolition, reconstruction. The number climbed higher with every line item. For the emergency repair tonight, stopping the leak, extracting the standing water, setting up temporary measures. That's $5,000. Dad winced but nodded. Okay, what about the full repair? I did the math. Did it twice to be sure. Then I looked at my parents, standing in their destroyed living room on Christmas Eve, desperate and out of options. $20,000. The number hung in the air like a curse. Mom's face went white. 20,000? For plumbing? For plumbing, water damage restoration, drywall replacement, mold prevention, and reconstruction. Plus it's an emergency call on Christmas Eve. Holiday rates apply. Holiday rates? Dad repeated slowly. You're charging your own parents' holiday rates? I'm charging what any plumber would charge for this job at this time. Actually, I'm probably charging less. You called 15 other plumbers before me, right? If any of them had answered, they'd quote you the same, maybe more. But your family, Mom said, and there was that word. Family. The word they'd used all my life to mean Rachel's achievements mattered and mine were just nice. Yes, I said calmly. I am. So surely you can work with us on price, Dad said. We're in a crisis here. This is a disaster. We need help. I looked around at the water damage, thought about the hours of work ahead, thought about calling my guys away from their Christmas plans, thought about the $50 bill in the frame. $20,000 is my price? That's ridiculous. Dad's face was turning red. You can't possibly need that much for what? For crawling under your house in water contaminated with sewage? For ripping out your walls on Christmas? For calling my employees away from their families? For using thousands of dollars in equipment and materials? I kept my voice level. What exactly am I overcharging for? Mom was crying again. We don't have $20,000 just sitting around. You had it for Rachel's party. The words came out before I could stop them. Silence. Complete, total silence. Mom's mouth opened, closed. That was different. How? That was a once-in-a-lifetime celebration. Rachel worked so hard for that degree. I worked hard for my license, my master plumber certification. You sent me $50 in a card. Dad stepped forward. That's not fair. We've always supported you. Have you? I cut him off. Name one thing. One time you celebrated my career the way you celebrated Rachel's. They looked at each other, said nothing. I got my journeyman license ahead of schedule. You were busy planning Rachel's party. I bought my first house at 25, paid for it myself. You sent a text. I opened my own business at 27. You asked when I was going to get a real job? We never said that, Mom protested weakly. Dad said it at Thanksgiving 2 years ago. You said it at Easter. Rachel said it last Christmas and you laughed. Mom's face crumbled. We're proud of you. Show me. I gestured at the water-damaged basement. Show me you're proud. Pay me what my work is worth. $20,000. Same amount you spent celebrating Rachel's piece of paper. Her MBA is not just a piece of paper, Dad's voice rose. And my master plumber license isn't just nice, dear, I shot back. But you treated it that way. My phone buzzed. Text from one of my guys, asking if I needed backup for an emergency call. I'd told them to stay on call tonight, knowing Christmas Eve always brought disasters. I looked at my parents, looked at their expensive house with the flooded basement, looked at their faces, finally understanding that I wasn't the kid who'd accept scraps anymore. Here's the deal, I said. $20,000 for the full repair. I can start tonight with the emergency work for $5,000, but I need payment up front, the rest when the job's done. Up front? Mom's voice cracked. We need to talk to the insurance company first. File a claim. We can't just... Insurance will reimburse you, eventually. But I don't work on promises anymore. I closed my tablet. You want me to fix this tonight or not? Dad pulled out his phone, probably checking his bank balance. His face said it all. They had the money. Of course they did. They just didn't want to spend it on me. We need time to think, he said finally. Sure. I picked up my toolbox. Think fast, though. That water's not going anywhere, and mold starts growing in 24 or 48 hours. The longer you wait, the more expensive this gets. I headed for the door. Wait, Mom called out. You're just going to leave? We're your parents. I turned back. Yeah, and I'm just a plumber, not a doctor, not a consultant, just a guy who fixes pipes. Lucky for you, that's exactly what you need right now. This is blackmail, Dad said. No, this is business. You want my professional services, you pay my professional rates. $20,000, take it or leave it. I walked out to my truck, loaded my toolbox, started the engine. Let them sit in their flooded house and think about what matters. I'd made it halfway down their street when my phone rang. Dad. I let it go to voicemail. He called again. Again. On the third call, I answered. Yeah? Fine. His voice was tight, angry. 20,000. Can you start tonight? I can start as soon as I see 5,000 in my business account for the emergency work. Now? You want us to transfer money now? It's Christmas Eve, Dad. I'm sure you can manage a bank transfer. You've got the app on your phone, right? Silence. Then, hold on. I waited in my truck, heat running, Christmas music playing faintly from a neighbor's house. My phone pinged. Bank notification. Deposit. $5,000 from Robert Morrison. Got it, I said. I'll be back in 15 minutes. Tell Mom to move anything valuable out of the basement that isn't already destroyed. I hung up before he could respond. Made 3 calls to my guys, offered them double time to come help tonight. 2 of them said yes immediately. They knew how I paid, knew I took care of my people. Then I called my supplier, the one who owed me a favor. I need a water extraction setup, 3 industrial fans, and 2 dehumidifiers, delivered to an address in Oakmont within the hour. Can you make it happen? On Christmas Eve? Brother, you're killing me. I'll make it worth your while. Always do. Send me the address. I sat in my truck for another minute, looking at my parents' house. The house I grew up in. The house where I learned that success only counted if it came with a degree and a corner office. The house that was currently flooding because nobody there knew how to close a valve. I smiled. Not a happy smile. The kind of smile that comes when the universe finally gives you exactly what you asked for. $20,000. Same amount they spent on Rachel's party. Different kind of celebration. I put the truck in gear and headed back. Time to get to work. My guys showed up at 10:15 p.m. Jake and Marcus, 2 of my best, pulling up in their trucks with equipment loaded. They didn't complain about leaving their families on Christmas Eve. That's the thing about good employees. You take care of them, they take care of you. Boss, Jake nodded, grabbing the water extractor. Heard it's bad. Basement's flooded, main line burst, standard holiday disaster. Marcus grinned. At holiday rates? Double for you guys, triple if we finish before sunrise. Now we're talking. We got to work. Dad watched from the top of the basement stairs, arms crossed, face tight. Mom had disappeared upstairs, probably calling Rachel. The water extraction took 2 hours. We worked in rotation, hauling up ruined boxes, setting up fans, marking walls for demolition. The pipe repair itself was straightforward. I'd done hundreds like it. But the damage control was massive. Around midnight, I heard a car pull up, raised voices. Then the front door slammed open. Rachel. Where is he? Her voice carried down to the basement, sharp and furious. I kept working on the pipe joint. Your sister's here, I said to Jake. The MBA one? That's the one. This should be fun. Rachel appeared at the top of the stairs in designer pajamas and a coat thrown over them. Her husband, Brad, lurked behind her, looking uncomfortable. Are you serious right now? She demanded. I didn't look up from my work. Going to need you to be more specific. $20,000? You're charging Mom and Dad $20,000 to fix their pipes? Technically, to fix their pipes, extract water damage, prevent mold, replace drywall, and restore their basement. But sure, let's call it pipes. On Christmas Eve. Yeah, that's when they called. Emergency rates apply. She came down 3 steps, stopped when her designer slippers hit water. This is extortion. No, this is business. Extortion would be if I threatened them. I gave them a quote. They accepted. They didn't have a choice. I finally looked up at her. Sure they did. They could have called any of the other 15 plumbers. Oh wait, nobody else answered. Because it's Christmas Eve. Because nobody wants to work tonight except people who charge premium rates. Marcus was trying not to laugh behind me. You're their son, Rachel said. You should be helping them, not robbing them. I am helping them. I'm here, aren't I? At midnight. On Christmas. With my employees who I'm paying triple time. While you're, staying at their house? Using their guest room? For free? Her face flushed. That's different. How? We're visiting for the holidays. And I'm working. For pay. Like a professional. With a license. And a business. You know that plumbing thing you're always asking about. Brad put a hand on her shoulder. Rachel, maybe we should… No. She shook him off, came down another step. Water soaked her slippers. She didn't seem to notice. This is about Mom's party, isn't it? You're still bitter about that? Which party? You know which one. My graduation. The MBA celebration. I set down my wrench, stood up, faced her directly. Your party cost $20,000. Ice sculptures. Live band. 200 guests. Open bar. 6-hour event at the country club celebrating a piece of paper that qualified you to make PowerPoints for a living. It wasn't just a piece of paper. I got my master plumber license, the highest certification in my profession, and they sent me $50 in a card. Couldn't even make time for dinner. Jake and Marcus had stopped working, watching this unfold. Rachel's mouth opened, closed. They were busy. They were busy celebrating you. They're always busy celebrating you. But now? Now their pipes burst, and suddenly my plumbing thing matters. Suddenly I'm not just the kid who couldn't cut it in real college. I'm the only one who can save their house. So you're punishing them? I'm charging them, market rate. Same amount you've cost them over the years, and trust me, Rachel, it's way more than 20 grand. But let's start with what they spent on one party. Mom appeared at the top of the stairs. Please don't fight. Not tonight. I'm not fighting, I said calmly. I'm working. Rachel's the one who came here to tell me how to run my business. It's not a business, it's family, Rachel's voice cracked. Then where were you when I opened this business? When I bought my first house? When I hired my first employee? I picked my wrench back up. Oh, right, you were busy. You're always busy when it comes to my life. But you drove over here at midnight to defend Mom and Dad's bank account. That's not fair. Fair would have been equal treatment our entire lives. Fair would have been them coming to just one of my certifications. Fair would have been them introducing me as their son, not he's a plumber, like it's an apology. Marcus quietly went back to setting up fans. Jake found something urgent to check on the far wall. They knew when to disappear. Rachel stood there in her soaked slippers, and for the first time I saw doubt flicker across her face. They do love you, she said quietly. Maybe. But they respect you. They've always respected you. Your career, your choices, your achievements. Me? I'm still waiting for that. So this is revenge? No. This is me finally charging what I'm worth. What my work is worth. Something they taught me by action, if not by words. Respect costs money. Brad spoke up from the stairs. For what it's worth, man. The quote seems reasonable. I looked up emergency plumbing rates while we drove over. You're actually charging below average. Rachel shot him a look. He shrugged. What? I was curious. Below average, I confirmed. Because despite everything, they're still my parents. I could charge double. Probably should. Mom was crying again, quietly at the top of the stairs. This is ruining Christmas, she said. No, I said, not unkindly. The pipes ruined Christmas. I'm just cleaning up the mess, like always. That landed. I could see it in her face. Rachel stood there another moment, then turned and sloshed back up the stairs. This is wrong. You're wrong. Maybe, I said. But I'm here, and I'm fixing it. That should count for something. She left without responding. I heard her and Brad arguing in the living room, heard a door slam, heard a car start and drive away. Dad appeared where she'd been. You happy now? You've upset everyone. I'm not upset. I'm working. There's a difference. For $20,000. Yeah, same amount you valued Rachel's degree over mine. Consider it a lesson in economics, supply and demand. Right now, I'm the only supply and you're definitely in demand. He stared at me for a long moment. Then, when did you get so cold? I'm not cold. I'm just done being warm to people who can't be bothered to show up for me. Big difference. He left too. Jake came over once we were alone. Boss, that was intense. Yeah. You good? I looked at the work ahead of us. Hours of extraction, demolition, repair. Hard physical labor that would leave us exhausted and filthy. I'm great, I said. Let's finish this. We worked through the night. By 4 a.m., the basement was empty of water, fans were running, and I'd replaced the burst section of pipe along with 2 other weak joints I'd found. The house wouldn't flood again. The demolition would have to wait until after Christmas. I couldn't bring in a full crew for that. But the emergency was contained. Mom and Dad sat at the kitchen table while we packed up, both looking exhausted and shell-shocked. Emergency work is complete, I told them. Water's out, pipes fixed, fans are running. I'll be back on the 26th with a full crew to start demolition and reconstruction. That'll take 3 to 5 days depending on what we find behind the walls. Dad nodded slowly. And the rest of the payment? Due when the job's complete. I'll send you an invoice. Mom's voice was small. Will you stay for coffee? It's almost morning. We usually do Christmas breakfast. I looked at her. Looked at the woman who'd raised me, who'd loved me in her way, but who'd never quite seen me as equal to my sister. I have to get my guys home to their families. It's Christmas morning. Right, of course. I headed for the door, stopped, turned back. You know what the worst part is? It's not the money. It's not even the party. It's that you needed my help, really, desperately needed it. And your first instinct was to call 15 other plumbers before you remembered I existed. Mom's face crumbled. We didn't forget you existed. You forgot I'm a master plumber. You forgot that this is what I do. You forgot that I'm actually good at it. You forgot until you had no choice but to remember. Dad looked down at his coffee cup. The invoice will be in your email, I said. Merry Christmas. I walked out into the cold Christmas morning. Jake and Marcus were already in their trucks, engines running. Hell of a night, boss, Marcus called out. Hell of a night, I agreed. Thanks for coming out. Anytime, triple time makes it worth it. They drove off. I sat in my truck for a moment, suddenly exhausted. Not from the work, I was used to physical labor, but from finally saying everything I'd held back for years. My phone buzzed. Text from Rachel. You're an asshole, I typed back. Maybe, but I'm a well-paid asshole with a master plumber license. She didn't respond. I drove home as the sun started to rise, Christmas lights still twinkling on houses where families were probably just waking up to open presents. I'd spent Christmas Eve elbow deep in my parents' flooded basement, charging them the same amount they'd spent celebrating my sister. And honestly, I'd never felt more valued in my life. I came back on the 26th with a full crew. 3 guys, 2 trucks worth of equipment, ready to tear out drywall and rebuild a basement. Mom answered the door in her bathrobe, looking like she hadn't slept. Oh, you're here. Said I would be. She stepped aside to let us in. The house smelled like coffee and tension. We worked for 3 days straight. Demolished the water-damaged walls, treated for mold, ran new drywall, painted, installed new carpet. Professional, efficient, exactly what they'd paid for. Dad tried to make small talk on day 2. Asked about my business, how long I'd been doing this, whether I enjoyed the work. 12 years, I said, measuring a drywall sheet. And yeah, I do. It's honest work. Solves real problems. He nodded, lingering like he wanted to say more. I didn't give him the opening. Mom brought us lunch on day 3. Sandwiches from the deli, chips, drinks. Set them on the kitchen counter without a word. Thanks, I said. Didn't sit down to eat with them. Took my sandwich to the truck. Rachel didn't come back. I heard Mom on the phone with her once. Heard, he's just doing his job and please don't make this harder. Good. I didn't need another midnight confrontation. By the end of day 3, the basement looked better than it had before the flood. New walls, new carpet, everything clean and dry and properly sealed. I sent the final invoice from my truck before going inside. $15,000 remaining balance, itemized down to the last pipe fitting. Dad's phone dinged while I was showing them the completed work. That's the invoice, I said. Due upon completion, which is now. He looked at his phone, looked at me. You want it now? Right now? That's how it works. Mom touched his arm. Just pay it, Robert. He pulled out his phone, did the transfer. My phone pinged a minute later. Deposit. $15,000 from Robert Morrison. We're square, I said. Warranty information is in your email. Any issues in the next 90 days, call the office. I headed for the door. Mom followed. Wait, she said. Please, can we talk? About? About everything. About what happened. About, her voice cracked. About how we failed you. I stopped, turned to look at her. She was crying. Again. But this time it felt different. Not manipulative tears, not panic tears. Just sad, tired, regretful tears. "We were wrong," she said quietly. "About how we treated you, about the party, about everything. Your father and I have been talking and we realize—" She took a breath. "We realize we made you feel invisible, and we're sorry." Dad appeared in the hallway behind her. We're truly sorry." I stood there with my toolbox in hand, looking at my parents. Older than I remembered. Smaller, somehow. "Okay," I said finally. "Okay," Mom repeated. "Okay, I hear you. I appreciate the apology." I shifted the toolbox. "But that doesn't change what happened. It doesn't erase 26 years of being second best." "We know," Dad said. "We're not asking you to forget. We're just asking—" He paused. "We're asking if we can try, to do better, to be better." I thought about it. Really thought about it. "Maybe," I said. "But it's going to be different. No more dismissing my career. No more comparing me to Rachel. No more assuming I'll just show up and accept scraps." "Different," Mom agreed quickly. "We can do different. And if I come to dinner, you actually ask about my life, my business, what I'm working on, not just Rachel's latest promotion." "We will," Dad said. "We promise." I nodded slowly. "Then maybe we can try, but I'm not making any promises." "You hurt me. That doesn't just go away because you apologized." "We understand," Mom said. I left them standing in their hallway, in their house with the newly repaired basement, and drove away. 3 months later, my phone rang on a Tuesday afternoon. "Mom." I almost didn't answer, but I did. "Hey, Mom." "Hi, sweetie, how are you?" "Busy, good busy. Just landed a contract to replumb an entire office building." "That's wonderful. That sounds like a big job." "It is. Good money, good for the business." Pause. Then, "I was calling because we're having dinner on Sunday. Nothing fancy, just family. We were hoping you'd come." I pulled up my calendar. Sunday was open. "Yeah," I said. "I can do that." "Really?" She sounded surprised. Hopeful. "Really? What time?" "6, and—" She hesitated. "Rachel will be there too. With Brad. Is that okay?" "It's fine, Mom." We hung up. I sat in my truck outside a job site, thinking about Sunday dinners and second chances. Sunday came. I showed up at 6 with a bottle of wine, same as always. Rachel was already there, looking tired. Mom had mentioned she'd been going through something at work, but I hadn't asked for details. "Hey," she said when I walked in. "Hey." Awkward silence. "The basement looks good," she offered. Mom showed me. "Thanks. It came out well." More silence. "Look," she said finally. "I was wrong. About Christmas. About what I said. You weren't being an asshole. You were being professional. And I was being—" She paused. "I was being defensive because I knew you were right. About all of it." I looked at my sister. Really looked at her. Saw the exhaustion, the uncertainty, the lack of that usual corporate confidence. "What happened?" I asked. "Layoffs. My whole department got cut. They're restructuring, moving operations overseas. I've been out of work for 6 weeks." "I'm sorry." "Don't be. It's kind of humbling, actually. Turns out an MBA doesn't guarantee anything. My degree and $3 gets me coffee." I almost laughed. Almost. "You'll land on your feet," I said. "You're smart, driven. Someone will hire you." "Maybe. In the meantime, I'm learning what it's like to not have everything handed to me." She met my eyes. "I get it now. What you were saying. What it felt like." "Yeah? Yeah. And I'm sorry. For all of it." Dinner was different. Dad asked about my office building contract. Mom asked about my employees, whether I was hiring, how the business was growing. Rachel stayed quiet mostly, but when she did talk, she asked real questions. Not condescending ones. I told them about expanding the business, about buying a second location, about training new apprentices. They listened. Actually listened. It wasn't perfect. Years of damage don't heal over pot roast and small talk. But it was something. A start. I left around 9, declined Mom's offer of leftover pie. Drove home to my house, my shop, my life that I'd built with my own hands. The next morning, I walked into my office and looked at the wall. The framed $50 bill was still there, reminder of what I'd been worth to them once. Next to it now, I hung something new. The invoice from their basement repair. $20,000. Paid in full. Not as a trophy, not as revenge, just as a reminder of what I'm worth, of what my work is worth, of what happens when you finally stop accepting less than you deserve. My phone rang. New client, emergency call, pipe burst in a restaurant kitchen. Morrison Plumbing, I answered. How can I help? I grabbed my keys, my toolbox, and headed out to my truck. Another day, another disaster to fix. But this time, I knew exactly what I was worth, and so did everyone else.